Hey guys, I thought I would do a video today inspired by how crappy I felt this morning and looked. I woke up and I was like, oh man, I have a headache, I don't have energy, I don't feel good. Even though I slept the number of hours that was great, I don't feel like I was rested. I don't feel all that clear. And I have dark circles under my eyes, I don't feel great, and I can do a video about that because even though I'm raw vegan, the reason I feel crappy today is because of how I ate yesterday. And I think people tend to think, oh, if I'm raw vegan, I can just eat whatever and I'm always healthy. And that's not really true. You can do raw vegan wrong. Just like you can do any diet wrong, you can do raw vegan in an unhealthy way too. Any diet, right? You can do it in a healthy way. You can do it in an unhealthy way. It just depends on your food choices. So yesterday I made some food choices that were not so grand or supportive of my health, and I'm suffering for it today. And that's sometimes a choice we can make. But I definitely, it's a great reminder that I love feeling optimal and like I'm 12 years old with energy and feeling so great. So I am eating great today and it's the afternoon, so I'm already feeling much better than I was this morning because that food is clearing out and all the effects of it. So I thought today I would go over some of the ways you can do raw vegan wrong. Now, when people start a raw vegan diet, typically they feel great and they get good results right away. I think that that is primarily due to the fact that they are drastically improving on their nutrition just by doing a plant-based diet. Because if you're going from the standard American diet to a plant-based diet, you are going to notice so many health improvements and improvements how you feel just by doing that. There's so much science to back that as well, whether you're doing raw or not. But if you're doing raw, you're even a step above a cooked plant-based diet because you're not damaging those nutrients by cooking, by heating them. So you're probably going to feel great when you start a raw vegan diet. But then over time, you may start to notice that there are things that make you feel better and things that are deleterious on how you feel and on your health in general. So having done raw vegan for 12 years now and having done a lot of education on nutrition in general, I have become much more educated on what makes me feel good, what doesn't, and why. So I thought I would share with you some of my perspective and information on the ways to do raw vegan wrong, because a lot of people try raw vegan. They might, like I said, feel really great at first, and then it starts to not work for them, and they don't know enough to find out why. They just say, you know what, it just didn't work for me. And if I talk to those people and really go into detail about why, I can see the reasons why it didn't work for them. Because I know that doing it 12 years, it's worked really well for me, even though I've made some of these mistakes in the past that I'm going to talk with you about today so that you wanting to do raw vegan, you can avoid them yourself. I know that raw vegan is doable. I know it's doable without being extremely expensive. I know it's doable in the long term, and I know that my health has done nothing but skyrocket since doing raw vegan for 12 years. That's why I keep doing it. So with that said, let's get into some ways we can do raw vegan wrong. Okay, I think that they really fall into really one of 5 categories. The first is too many calories. If you are just getting too many calories on your diet and you can't lose the weight, or you're gaining weight on a raw vegan diet, I know that sounds hard to believe for some people, but it's really possible and it's really clear why that happens. That's one of the ways. Another way is too little calories, so you're not able to keep the weight on. And this is what I was worried about when I first went raw vegan because I didn't want to lose weight. I just wanted my health problems to go away. And lo and behold, I did not have an issue with that. So the third thing is the wrong kind of calories. The fourth mistake, too little fresh produce. Too few fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. And the fifth thing, too little variety in your food. So let's first talk about too many calories and why you might gain weight or find it hard to lose weight on a raw vegan diet. And like I said, some people are like, what? How can you gain weight on a raw vegan diet? Super easy. I could write you a menu so that you would gain 10 pounds pretty quickly. So one of the ways that people gain weight on a raw vegan diet, and people do this, I think this is a mistake that new raw vegans make a lot. I know I did. I got really excited because you hear all this stuff. You can eat raw vegan desserts all day long because they're healthy for you, because they're just made of real foods. And while this is true to some degree, raw vegan gourmet food typically made in a restaurant, can be delicious, but just like any other gourmet cuisine, whether it be French, or Italian, anything else, will tend to be heavy on the fat, heavy on the sugar, and heavy on the calories. So if you were doing a raw vegan diet where you are eating out a ton, which is fun, and the food is delicious and amazing and inspiring, then you're going to be getting a lot of calories, most likely, depending on what you're choosing, of course, right? But if you're eating a lot of raw vegan cheesecakes, which are a favorite and so yummy, and I love them too, you're getting a lot of fat. You're getting a lot of sugar in a condensed space, so you can eat more of it without feeling full, and thus getting a lot more calories in general. I think one thing that raw vegan restaurants tend to do, or restaurants that are offering raw vegan options, is that they know that people coming off the street are generally used to a certain mouthfeel, they're used to a certain taste, and that tends to be, if you're coming from more of a standard American diet background, heavier in fats, heavier in sugar, heavier in salt, right? So they try to imitate that for you, and they want you to have a good experience, and they want you to feel full, and they want the food to feel delicious and look amazing and all of that. And when you're doing that, you tend to, like in any gourmet or in many gourmet foods, use a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, and they tend to be calorie heavy. So one of the reasons for that is using a lot of oil. Oil is fine in small quantities, and I know being a raw vegan, I heard so much about healthy fats. You want to get those healthy fats. So initially I was using a ton of olive oil and coconut oil. I would put coconut oil, a couple of tablespoons, 3 tablespoons in my smoothies. And I would put probably close to a cup of oil when I would make pesto, and then eat the whole thing. And what I didn't really realize then, that oil, if you think about what oil is, it's extracted from the whole food. So you're not getting any of the nutrients really from that food except for the fat. You're eating pure fat. And oil is 4,000 calories per pound. I don't care if it's coconut oil, I don't care if it's an animal-based oil, avocado oil, it doesn't matter. It's 4,000 calories per pound. And because it's extracted from the whole food, you're going to start to hear a theme here that I'll elucidate at the end. If you're extracting just the oil, you're getting a very small volume, again, of food with a very large amount of calories. So it's very easy to eat a lot of oil and consume a lot of calories and not really realize it, because it's not really making you feel full. It's not filling up your stomach and activating those satiety mechanisms in your body. So oil is a big one. Use a little bit. Think of oil as like a condiment to be used lightly, and just keep remembering 4,000 calories a pound. So another one that's related to that is too many nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds can be great for you. They do have great fats, and it's great to eat the whole food, such as a walnut, rather than walnut oil, because you're not only getting those great fats, but you're also getting all the nutrients that go with that are so healthy for your body. You're getting also the fiber. Fiber is a nutrient, so are carbohydrates and the fats and the proteins. You're getting all of that, not just the fats. So you're moving up in food quality if you're eating a whole nut or seed. But if you're eating handfuls of nuts and seeds, again, that's going to be such a heavy, dense caloric load on your body. And it's easier to eat a lot of those because they're not super, trying to think of the word, they're not going to fill you up as much. So if you eat, for example, a huge bowl of greens, that's going to fill you up, but it's going to be very low calories. So oil, nuts, and seeds are going to kind of be on the other end of that. So I like to use like a sprinkling of pumpkin seeds, for instance, on my salad, or walnuts, or whatever nut or seed I want to eat. They have great flavor. All right, my screen just froze, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Hopefully that was okay. So under that same heading of too many calories, there are foods that have a lot of hidden calories. Now, this is more prevalent in packaged and processed raw foods than in foods you make yourself, but it could be the case in foods you make yourself. Like the example I gave of the pesto. I was using so much oil in that pesto, wasn't really thinking about it in terms of how much oil and how many calories I was getting purely from fat. Same as if you're making your own dressings. So instead of using oil as like the main component, perhaps you can use a little bit of nuts and seeds in your dressing and rely more on some fruits and vegetables to put in there and some seasonings. So hidden calories in processed foods, though, are just like they are in cooked processed foods, tongue twister, where if you're eating bars, cereal mixes, dressings that you could get, maybe smoothies that you don't make yourself, it's very easy to consume a lot of calories and not realize it, particularly with bars. Dried fruits can be a favorite of raw foodists starting out because you can just have like a trail mix with nuts and dried fruits. But with dried fruits, if you think about it, you are removing the moisture from that, so you're concentrating the calories. You're also concentrating the amount of sugar that you're going to be able to consume in a smaller amount, so you can consume more in a sitting than you would if it was a whole fruit, for instance. So I think that covers probably the major mistakes I see that raw foodists make when getting too many calories. So the next category would be too little calories. So this is sort of the flip side of that coin. If you are just eating a mountain of greens every day, I've heard people say, I eat greens all day long, I can't keep the weight on. I'm eating raw food all day long. And I look at their diet and they're eating maybe mostly salads. And this can be people who have just transitioned to a raw vegan diet. And I've heard you can do this with a cutting board and a knife. It's so easy. You can, but it's I find very challenging if you don't have at least some equipment like a high-powered blender, maybe a Cuisinart. Even if it's just that, you can make so much more variety of food than you can just eating whole fruits and vegetables alone. But use those processes, even the ones you do yourself, sparingly, because they are going to tend to make it so that you can eat more food in a sitting, and that's going to be more dense, or can, depending on what you're making. So if you're just eating a whole bunch of greens, greens are amazing for your body. You get so many nutrients from those. In fact, you get all the nutrients you really need from vegetables and fruits and a little bit of nuts and seeds. But if you're just concentrating on the greens, say you're just eating big salads with lemon juice on them and chopped garlic or something like that, it's going to be very challenging to get enough calories so that you can keep the weight on or gain weight if you want to do that. So if you want to add in some fruits, fruits tend to be higher calorie but still have a great mix of protein, fats, and carbs along with the micronutrients and fiber that you really want to be getting for a really healthy diet, but they have more calories. But you're going to be okay if you're not adding the things we talked about in the last category. If you're not adding too much oil, if you're not adding too many nuts and seeds, and if you're looking out for those hidden calories in the more processed foods, whether you make them yourself or whether you buy them at the store, you should be okay. So if you're finding it hard to keep the weight on or to add more weight and you want to do that, add a little more nuts and seeds to your diet, and perhaps just add some more fruit as well to get those calories in a healthy way. So let's see. Did I want to say anything else about that? I don't think so. So talking about getting the wrong kinds of calories, I covered this a lot with talking about fat. So it's not bad to eat fat, but if you're eating it where it's extracted from the food and you're just getting the fat without the other nutrients, it's not going to be great on you. If you're eating a lot of say, for example, agave syrup used to be really popular in the raw food community. Not so much anymore because we've found out more about it. But if you're extracting the sugar, if you're extracting a syrup, it's going to be more calorie dense, and it's going to have less of the nutrients that you want. So just in general, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, and oil is a very processed food, sugar additives that are not whole foods, a date might be an example of a whole food that you could use in place of agave syrup, for instance, or bananas, something like that. Those things are going to be much better for you in terms of providing a whole spectrum of macro micronutrients for you with the fiber that are going to be much healthier for you. So talking about the wrong kinds of calories, right? We've pretty much covered that. Too little fresh food. So if you base your diet on fresh vegetables as the base with fresh fruits as well, and then you're using a little bit of nuts and seeds on the side, that's fantastic. And if you're using the fresh whole foods, it's going to fill you up without getting too many calories. So by eating just the whole form of the fruit or vegetable, it's both balanced in the nutrients that you're getting in a way that your body has evolved to thrive on, and you're also not getting those hidden calories or hidden nutrients that are going to put you way above the fat that you need to have in your diet or the sugar that you need to have in your diet. Those whole fruits and vegetables give you those ratios in a really healthy way. So you don't really have to overthink it. You don't have to worry about it. If you're eating mostly fresh, whole fruits and vegetables, you're getting those ratios like you need without too much of one or the other. And you can get all of those if you go to number 5, which is providing enough variety in your diet. So I always suggest to people, and you've probably heard me say this a million times before, get a CSA box if that's something you can do. If you can't, just rotate out your foods seasonally with the foods that you're picking up at the grocery store. And also, if you're just eating whole fruits and vegetables, it's very affordable. It's not an expensive way to eat. The way raw vegan gets expensive, because I hear people say, oh, Christy, a lot of people can't afford to eat this way. Well, actually, if you cut out the processed foods, cut out the oils, cut out the packaged foods, you're going to find that buying whole, fresh fruits and vegetables and eating them in their natural state is very inexpensive. It'll cost you a little bit more to do organic, but I always say you are worth it. And if you're going to go to all of this effort to eat raw vegan because our culture is so upside down that just eating fresh fruits and vegetables in their natural state is like weird and abnormal, and takes extra effort to undo ourselves from all of this crap we've been sold and all of this processed food that's now considered normal. If you're going to go to all that extra effort to research and you care that much about your health to do that, spending a little bit on not eating poison sprayed on your food, at least to the degree that conventional produce is going to give you, that's well worth it. Your health is worth it. Your well-being is worth it. Your children deserve a parent who's not poisoning themselves on a daily basis, so they're, sharper mentally, feel better, all of that, all of the benefits you get from eating organic produce. If you can afford to do that, do it. And also rotate in, if you're not doing a CSA box, which provides you with those foods seasonally, so you're going to automatically get a variety of fruits and vegetables. Then just make sure that you're doing that at the grocery store in whatever way works for you. Because if you're eating the same foods all the time, and studies show that people eat 8 to 10 foods generally, and their diet revolves around those 8 to 10 foods, no matter what kind of diet you eat. And raw food, people can fall into that as well. And at least if you're raw, you're not degrading and destroying the nutrients by heating them, but you still need to make sure you get a lot of variety. So for me, it's very simple. I always do a juice, I always do a smoothie, and then I make some kind of raw dish typically for the day, whether it be raw tacos or a soup or something like that. But what I do is I have those pretty stable structures that I use in my diet, and I just rotate out what greens I use in my smoothie on a weekly basis, what fruits and vegetables I'm eating. And it's a really easy way to make sure you're getting a variety of nutrients and you're not getting in a rut so that you're going to be deficient in any one or the other. So that pretty much concludes, and the big message about raw vegan and how to do it right is really to eat a lot of different types of raw, whole fruits and vegetables, and then supplement, if you need to, a little bit with nuts and seeds and spices, and you're on your way. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.